Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So if everybody can just join in with a Mool mantra so we can get started off. Ek oankar Satnam Karta Purakh Nirbhau Nirvair Akaal Murt Ajuni Sapang Gur Prasad Jap Ad Sach Jugad Sach Happy Sach Nanak Hosi Pi Sach Kot Brahmand Ko Thakur Swami Sarb Jiyan Ka Datare Pratpale Nit Sar Samale Ek Gun Nahi Murkh Jatare Har Aradhana Jana Re Har Har Gur Gur Kartare Har Jiyo Naam Paryo Ramdas Har Jiyo Naam Paryo Ramdas Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So Guru Sahib Ji's Kirpa, we're going to make a humble attempt to go through some of the qualities that are mentioned in Gurbani and try and take a look at those qualities through the life of a Gursikh during the time of Guru Sahib, of one of the Guru Sahibans, and how that Gursikh served Guruji and how they actually practiced that quality within their life. Because what a better way than actually having an example to be able to look at somebody's life so that we can look at how somebody practically practiced that quality within their own life. So, the pankti that has inspired this talk, for me, a pankti that's always very much stuck out for me is Sat Santok Daya Dharam Shingar Banavo. And then Satguru Ji says that Safal Sohagan Nanaka Apne Prab Pavon. Satguru Ji here is saying that Safal Sohagan Nanaka. They're saying Sohagan. And who's familiar with this word, this term Sohagan? Who's heard this word Sohagan before? How would you describe a Sohagan? Sohagan kennu kya janda hai? A newly-wed bride. So a newly-wed bride, so Sohagan, is Sohagan only a newly-wed bride? So sometimes some people say a Sohagan is whose wife's husband is still alive. So who is a Sohagan according to Gurbani? That's right, it's a particular type of bride. It's that bride that has actually won the happiness of her husband. Sohagan onnu kya janda jinne apni pati di khushi prapt kar liya. So a wife that has actually pleased her husband, that is a Sohagan. So literally as well, that's who a Sohagan actually is, and according to Gurbani as well. So that Gursikh, that one that becomes that humble being and that pleases their Guru, that pleases Akaal Purakh, is a Sohagan. So Satguru Ji saying that Safal Sohagan, who is actually a true Sohagan, Safal, that Sohagan that can say that her life is complete and is been of success. Who is that? Safal Sohagan Nanaka, Apne Prabh Pavon. There's the description. Jinne apne Prabhu nu pa liya, meaning that bride that has pleased her husband. And how has she done that? What has she had to do? What has she had to wear to actually please her husband? Big earrings. No, I'm just asking the question. Isn't it? So if it's a Gursikh for Guru Sahib, what is it? Can you imagine me in big earrings? Anyway, So these are the decorations. Guru Sahib Ji says, this is what we've got to adorn ourselves with. Je eh gun sade andar hon, fe asal vich o suhagan soni lagdi apni pati vaste. She then looks beautiful for her husband. For us, our husband is Guru Nanak. For us, our husband is Guru Gobind Singh Ji. So we've got our physical adornments that we wear, which is our 5 kakar, to look beautiful for Guru Gobind Singh Ji. But then what we adorn inside is Sat, Santok, Daya, Dharam, Shingar, Banavo. So Shingar are the decorations. That's how we truly look beautiful for our husband, for our Guru. That's how a wife is truly beautiful for her husband as well, in actual marriage as well. So what we're going to try and focus on in today's lecture is Daya. So we're doing Daya. Okay, there we go. So just throw some words at me to describe Daya. Whatever jo bhi man vich aunda hai, and let's do it in a civilized manner. Haath khade uppar karke. Go on. Huh? Yeah, so that's the literal translation for Daya is compassion. What other words come to mind to describe compassion then? Who can give a description of it, or one word things, just anything that comes to mind? Sorry? Empathy. Excellent. Sacrifice. Badhiya. Sorry? Forgiveness. Pity. Seva. Love. So these are all words that I would say fit underneath the umbrella of compassion and describe somebody that is filled with compassion. To look at it, there we go. So these are some of the words that you guys have actually thrown out there. Wow, Tegh Bahadur, you go, Tegh Bahadur. Yeah. So you like the clever hai kafi, na? So I really, really liked this description of what Daya is. When I looked at this, oh, not that one, but this one. So this is a quote which I thought was very unique to Dalai Lama, but I was very wrong. And the way he described it is that what compassion is the wish to see others free from suffering. So ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਦੁੱਖ ਦੇਖਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਮਨ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹ ਖਿਆਲ ਆਵੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਦਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਦੂਰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਹੋਵੇ, ਇਹਦਾ ਦੁੱਖ ਕਿਸੇ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੂਰ ਹੋ ਜਾਵੇ. So when you see somebody suffering and you actually want to get rid of that suffering and it pains you to see them in that state and you want to do anything in your power to get rid of that suffering for them, that is Daya, that is compassion. And when I was actually reading Freed Gursikh the other day, I was reading up an arth to a shabad, and Freed Gursikh had used the exact same terminology to actually describe what Daya actually is. They wrote the same thing. So Freed Gursikh was something that was written in the late 1800s, and they also said the same thing. So this is how Daya and Dharam actually go together. Remember, Daya alone is only half of the job. Why? Why is Daya only half the job done? What needs to follow by Daya? What comes after Daya? What comes after? Come on, kids, say it out loud. No, actually meant all the kids. Like, ek pita ek iske hum barik. So what comes after Daya? Well done, kids. Dharam, excellent. Dharam is the act that comes from Daya. Any act that is empty from Daya is not Dharam, is not a righteous act. Only that act that has compassion in it can be called a righteous act. Guru Nanak Dev Ji, so for an example, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, they were given, everybody knows the story, they were given that 20 rupees to go and buy a whole load of things to trade with and to sell at a profit. And they thought, what greater profit than actually feeding a hungry group of people? Guru Nanak Dev Ji saw a group of holy sadhus that was sitting there that hadn't eaten for how many days? Kinne din lang gਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਧੂਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਖਾਧਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ? Wow. Go, Darshan. Well, yes, 7 days since they had eaten. What was the name of the leader of that group of the sadhus, Sant. Sant Rain. His name was Sant Rain. When Guru Nanak Dev Ji heard that it's been 7 days that they've not eaten for, and they've not gone out begging for, but they're sitting there content immersed in the name of God, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, what was pulled inside? What strings were pulled? What's it called? What was evoked inside? It's called compassion. But then feeding them is what quality? Is dharam. Dharam is feeding them. That's how they work together. So, this pankti often comes to mind. And quick shout out, what Bani is this pankti from? Not all at once, Mano? Yes, I knew you knew, so that's why. So, Barama. At sat tirat sagal pun ji daya parvan. And what Satguru Ji, Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paat is saying, they're saying that we can go out and do all of these things. They said that you can go and do At Sat Tirat, you can go out on the 68 pilgrimages, go and bathe, go to all these holy places. Sagal pun, you can go out and carry out all these good, great acts, meaning giving to charity and doing all of these things. But they said the highest thing of all is what? Ji Daya Parvan. But what is it that is Parvan? Parvan means what is it that is accepted in the eyes of God? What is it that is stamped to say, you're done? Is Ji Daya. When we have compassion for other beings. And when we've got that compassion for other beings, that's what it is that is accepted in the eyes of God. So we could be given to charity, for example. Somebody might be out there given to charity, but they still feel they're not spiritually enhancing and growing. Why? Because they just could be given out of that thought that this is a good deed to do. Think about this pankti from Japji Sahib, where Guru Nanak Dev Ji Paat says that Tirath, Tap, what? You meant to join in. Tirath, I know the pankti, don't get worried. Tirath, Tap, Daya, Dat Dan, Je ko Pava, Til ka Man. Has anybody actually ever thought and contemplated on these words? Tirath. So the same thing here, going onto these pilgrimages, Tirath Tap. Tap meaning putting yourself through all sorts of difficulties, your body. Meaning that you could be doing something crazy like sitting on coal and meditating and say, I'm going to sit on this for 48 hours until I feel some sort of enlightenment. And putting your body through all of these things, Tap. Tirath Tap, Daya, Dat Dan. Dat means when you're giving to those that are in need. And then Paatji uses the word they are there as well. Because, and then this says, Jeko Pave Tilka Man. This is Jeko meaning that, to see Karliya, you've done that, but you still only get a little sesame seeds back. That's all you're getting for it. Why? Because Guru Sahib Ji is saying that sometimes we do something out of just, oh, that's a good act to do. But there's actually no compassion in it. And we carry out that act, but it doesn't mean we stop carrying out that act. We continue doing that act until we get to that avastha. But what I want to focus on is, sometimes some people just say that, well, how about, I'll use today's terminology, I just don't feel it, bro. I'm not feeling all this compassion thing. It don't really faze me, like when I see people that are in the streets begging or whatever, or when I see all of this stuff, it doesn't, I don't know, I'm just not feeling it. And we hear this, and I've heard this myself. I've had people come to me and say, look, I know you've just spoke about how somebody's suffering and going through but it's not feeling it, bro. So what do you do then? When it's not coming from that place of compassion, when we actually feel that, you know what, they need me. They've got no food, and I'm in a better position, so if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't get this food. And so they're actually below me. I'm in a privileged place. I'm giving to someone that's needy. And not just feeling that, but actually not feeling no compassion behind it. What do we do? Satguru Ji, when we look at Gurbani, Satguru says, Deen Dayal Kripal Sukh Sagar Sarva Kata Parpuri Re. That's from the same Shabad that you all heard what I started with. Kot Brahmand Ko Thakur Swami Sarv Jiyan Ka Data Re. It's from that same Shabad. Here Guru Nanak Dev Ji saying that Deen Dayal Kripal Sukh Sagar Sarva Kata Parpuri Re. There's a system in how to receive Daya from Akaal Purakh. There's a system of how to receive the mercy, that kirpa, that Daya, that kindness from Akaal Purakh. Even though Akaal Purakh's merciful, even though Akaal Purakh's full of Daya, but we don't always feel the Daya from Akaal Purakh. There's a word in here, those of you that can read Gurmukhi, that gives it away of what we need to become before we can receive Daya. What's that magic word in this pankti? Deen Dayal Kirpal Sukh Sagar Sarva Kata Parpuri Re. Deen Dayal Kirpal Sukh Sagar. That's what he is. That's what Vaheguru Ji is. He's Dayal. He's compassionate. He's Kirpalu. He's merciful. Sukh Sagar is the ocean of Sukh, the ocean of that one that gives us peace. What is it in this pankti? What do we need to become to receive that Daya? What do we need to become? Deen. The word is Deen. What does Deen mean? So from these translations, what word translates to Deen in the translation? What is it? Shout it out. Meek, yes. The same as what we spoke about yesterday in the Hukamnama. When somebody becomes meek, when somebody becomes Deen, when they fall, and at that point, that's when that Daya starts to pour in. And when Vaheguru Ji's Daya starts to pour in, when we feel Deen, when we feel powerless, when we feel that I can't do it without you, I need you. When I say I need you, I can't do it, and I fall to my knees, at that point, that's when it will all fall in, because the truth is, Home vich seva na hovei, ta man birtha jaye. Because it's not possible to serve in from a place of ego, of thinking I'm doing it. If it wasn't for me, that they wouldn't get this food. They need me. It's me that's doing this. If I feel like that, there's no seva in that. And who was the perfect example of this? Somebody that lived these words. These words, when I read this pankti, they hit me so much. When Guru Sahib said, Ji jant sab sukh base. Sabke man loch. And I've had to play around with the translation a bit, because I didn't feel that the general English translation that you see did justice, and it actually didn't say what the way I've translated this now. So I've made a few adjustments. Guru Sahib saying, Ji jant sab sukh base. You know, there's people out there that they live their life like this. They feel like this every moment. All they want is for every jeev, every creature out there, every part of creation out there, they want it to be sukh base. They want for them to be at peace. There's people that actually are at that avastha. Can you imagine living your life every moment, whatever you look at, whether it be a little insect, whether it be a human being, whether it be a tree, all you want is for that thing, that creation, to be at sukh, to be at peace. Guru Sahib Ji then says that sabke man loche. I put saints in a bracket because sabke is referring to all. That's the definition of a saint. A saint is all the saints. What do they have in their mind? All their yearning every moment is that is sukhi keme ho jave. Is sukhi keme ho jave. How can this person become at more peace? How can this person become more at peace? Constantly, that's all that's within their mind. How can these animals, how can this tree, how can this creation be at peace? When we say how can creation be at peace, meaning looking after it. And then Sadhguru Ji says that par upakar. What does par upakar mean? Par upakar, I'm only picking on you guys. You'll remember the words like this so much more. And if I didn't pick on you, then it won't stick as much. What does par upakar mean? Yes, par means others, upakar means to help. Saying par upakar nit chittavate. Nit means every moment, chittavate, within their mind, every moment they're thinking, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And then Pachi saying, Nahi kach poch. But nahi kach poch means that never in their mind have they ever got an ill thought towards somebody. Never in their mind do they ever think, how did they end up getting such a cool car? I just hope it burns and hope it sets on fire somehow. Never do they have that in their mind. That hope it doesn't work out for them. Never does that cross their mind. And who was it that every moment of his life that lived in that actual state? And Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. There's many of us sitting here, and I'm sure every single person sitting here has heard the story of Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, but that one particular story towards the end of his life. And not many of us have probably heard about his earlier life. What was his earlier life like? Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, Sant Sahai Prem ke ho tin ka lagan paye, before he met with a group of saints, before he met with some holy people whose name was Bhagat Nanua, okay, it's a funny name, but that was his name, Bhagat Nanua. That was the first saint that he met in his life, that he served. But before he met him, he was born with that nature of Daya. You know what he was like as a kid? As a kid, the little bit of pocket money he would get, and those days, pocket money would be like shells and little coin, just a few coins. ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੌਡੀਆਂ ਮਿਲਦੀਆਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਸੀਗੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਨੇ ਉਹ ਥੋੜੇ ਕੌਡੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਪੈਸੇ ਆਪਣੀ ਜੇਬ 'ਚ ਪਾ ਲੈਣੀਆਂ, and he'd put them in his pocket. And as a little kid, being 4-5 years old, he'd walk around the streets and look around for who needed them and who could do with them more than him, because he came from a very wealthy family. Because his family was there was Saudagar sige. Saudagar basically means that his father actually worked for the royal army of that time. And his father was responsible to actually deliver all the material and the things that the royal army used and needed at that time. So they were very wealthy and very well off. And the family was known, and everybody would say, "Oh, Saudagara da Mundaya," that he belongs to that family. But he'd go out looking for people that needed that little change more than he did, and he'd go out and giving out his shells. He'd come home, and his mum would say, "Put the jebban fe khali karke aa gaya." Said, "Son, you've returned again with empty pockets. Ki khridiya? What did you buy?" And he'd go like this. He said, "I just gave it out." And then, as he started to get a little bit older, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, when he got to of an age of about 12 years old, he would go around, and during that time, the rulers of that time were such that what they would do, those that were meek, those that had no power, they'd actually go around and forcibly they would actually get them to carry heavy weight. So what they would do is they'd forcibly get people that were very poor and living in poverty, they'd get them to carry heavy weight on their backs. What Bhai Kanhaiya Ji would do is he would go around looking for those people that were carrying weight on their backs, that hardly ate anyway, that were very skinny and didn't really have much muscle, and they were struggling. He'd go around and he'd say, "Look, even if I can help ease your pain for about a couple of hours," he goes, "Let me do this work for you." He'd take all their weight and he'd carry it around for them. People started to talk. They said, "Saudagara da munda ta kende gariban da bhar chakda firda ya." They said, "He's going around and picking up all this weight of these people. He shouldn't be associating with such people." They came back to his mum. They said, "But they kende tade munde bare suneya tusi ki oh karda bahar? Have you heard what he does outside? Kende koi shikayat hai? Has he done something wrong?" They said, "No, he's not really done anything wrong. He's going around and he's picking up weight of these poor people that he shouldn't really be associating with. Eta Saudagara da munda, he belongs to such a wealthy family." His mum spoke to him. Said, "Putra," said, "Son, tu kyon karda hai kam? Why do you do this?" And he said that, "Mom," he goes, "I'm just thinking, even for a couple of hours, if I can just ease that pain, if I can just be of any help to them, even just for a few moments." And he goes, "It makes me feel so good." But upon when Bhai Kanhaiya Ji's father passed away, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਤਾ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਮੌਤ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ, they started to search. They had this yearning to know God, to wanting to know God. He came across then some sants. Just like Guru Arjan Dev Ji Paat says that Sant Sahai Prem Ke, that the true saints, they are the ones that can help us find love. Because love isn't something that we do with someone. Love is a state of being. Love is something we become. And the saints help us to become love. They say, Sant Sahai Prem Ke Ho Tin Ke Laga Paye. They said, but if I can find such a saint that can help me to become the form of love, I'll fall at their feet. I'll attach myself to their feet. One day, when Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was sitting in the company of Bhagat Nanua Ji, who was a great Bhagat and who used to go on a regular basis, this is Bhagat Nanua Ji, who would go on a regular basis to meet Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji would get so happy when Bhagat Nanua Ji would come into the Sangat. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji would call him out and sit him beside them. Naal bithaunden dende se Bhagat Nanua Ji nu. But then one day when Bhagat Ji was sitting in his home, he started to sing the shabads of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Paatshah Ji. And those of you that are familiar with Gurbani and familiar with the Bani of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, the Bani is all full of bairag, of detachment. But detachment does not mean running away from the world. Detachment doesn't mean becoming all sad and not wanting to know anyone. Detachment means when you've got such a yearning and there's that pull towards wanting to know God. And then he was singing this with a beautiful, beautiful voice. He started off with Ek Onkar Satgur Prasad Rag Gaudi Mahalla Noma. And this is actually Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji's first shabad that comes in Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And it's that Sadho Manka Man Tyago. So they're saying that Sadho Manka Man Tyago, talking about renouncing your pride. But then, as he finished the shabad off, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji is listening carefully, attentively, and he's becoming completely immersed into these words. And then he starts another shabad. The second shabad he started to sing was Pritam Jaan Leho Man Mahi. And then he says that Apne Sukh Syo Hi Jag Fandyo Ko Kahu Ko Nahi. Again, look at these words, just full of a detachment, saying that know this in your mind, that the whole world is entangled in their own comforts, in their own pleasures, just wanting to better their own lives. Then they say that ko kahu ko nahi, and there's not, when I say there's no one, meaning there's hardly anyone that is concerned for the comfort and sukh for others, but they're all entangled, they're all about themselves. I couldn't help this, so I thought, do a little ghost thingy here. The reason for that is, I know it's a bit it's not random. You thought it was random, it's not random. In that same shabad, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, you know when you're so attached to your family, you're so attached to your wife, so attached to your partner, you can't see past them. You don't allow yourself to develop spiritually because of your partner. Because you think that, you know what? I've got to impress them. It's all about them. I've got to live for them. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, you know that day? You know when that day comes when you breathe your last breath and you no longer remain? Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji kehinde kar ki nar bahut hit jasyo sada rahat sang lagi. This says that you know that same wife that you had so much attachment with and you remain with all the time? And this says, Jabihi Hans Taji He Kayam Pret Kar Bhagi. They said the moment that same person dies, her husband dies, that one that you wouldn't remain without, the one that you wouldn't allow yourself to develop spiritually because you had to look a certain way for your partner, because your partner now doesn't want you to take a particular path on. Your partner doesn't want you to change your diet because they're so used to you being the way, well, I married you like this. You look like this when I married you. And we don't let ourselves go forward because of that reason. And then what happens? Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, look, that same woman that you're holding yourself back for, this says, Jabihi Hans. Hans means a dove. Over here, they've used the word swan lalo. They said, when that swan, referring to your soul, leaves your body, Jabihi Hans taji he kaya, pret kar bhagi. Even though pret, we know the word pret to be ghost, and they've translated it to ghost. But in Gurbani, many times the word pret does not mean ghost, it means body. Yeah, she freaks out. She's saying, oh, there's a dead body. It's a dead body. And she doesn't want to sit near that dead body anymore. She freaks out. So he's listening to all of these words. And he said, whose words are these? Who do these words belong to? And he said, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. And he said, I want to meet this Guru. And Nanua Bhagat said, you know that yearning that you've got inside of your heart? He's one Guru. He's such a Guru that he'll be able to help you fulfill that yearning to meet God. Bhagat Nanua Ji went out to Anandpur Sahib to meet Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Bhag hua Guru Sant Malaya. There's one way that this can be translated. And even though we know that Gurbani is open to being translated in different ways, but one way to translate this is Bhag hua Gur, if we put a Bisram there and say Sant Malaya. The Sant here was Bhagat Nanua. He inspired Bhai Kanhaiya Ji to go and meet the true Guru. Because that's what a Sant's job is, to unite us with the Guru. Bhag hua Gur Sant Malaya. The Sant helped him to meet Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. But the moment he set his eyes on Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, something happened to him. Just like that moment Bhai Gurdas Ji describes, the moment he set his eyes on Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, darshan dekhte hi, sudh ki na sudh rahi. Buddh ki na buddh rahi, mat mein na mat hai. You know what happens when we try and follow this path? We try and work everything out with our intellect. But when we truly have an experience with Guru, our intellect goes out the window. Our thoughts go out the window. We go to a state way beyond that. And what is he seeing? Namo Surj, Surj, Namo Chandra, Chandre. To him, today he's meeting that one that lights up the sun, that lights up the moon. He falls in the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is so happy upon seeing Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji blessed him with the Seva. What was that Seva that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji blessed Bhai Kanhaiya Ji with? So we've all heard the Seva that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji did later on during the time of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. What was the Seva that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji blessed Bhai Kanhaiya Ji with? Anybody know? Kadi Seva karde sige? Sorry? Jaldi? That was one of them. But the main Seva that they did was Seva kart hoye nahi kami, but they did it in such a way, it was completely desireless. Tisko hot prapat Swami Kodyan di. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, they did Seva in the stables. And the stables was a place that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji did not visit very often. Nobody ever saw Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji really go into the stables and check on the horses. Gursikhs would do their thing. But Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, the moment Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji blessed them with this Seva, they became one with those horses. They cleaned them. They took care of them. They fed them. And day and night, if you wanted to see Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, they'd be in the stables. Because the Guru told them to do that Seva. Once the Guru said it, that was it. Hukam manya hove parvan. And then, but what did Bhai Kanhaiya Ji do in his spare time? He'd bring water. Pani leke aunde hunde sige ta langara ch seva karde sige. But when Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was given this Seva, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, all of a sudden, now on a very regular basis, started to come into the stables. Guru Tegh and the Sangat and the Sikhs, ਉਹ ਆਪਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕਰਦੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਤਾਂ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ. They didn't used to go into the stables before. What is it now? What is it that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is now starting going into the stables? Bhai Kanhaiya Ji started to live off of this darshan of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji coming. He knew now that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji is going to come around this time every day. So he'd wait for that moment to see them. And one day, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji just stopped and fell at the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. And he started to recite a poem to Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. He says, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, you are such that you know the past, the present, and the future. You know everything. You aren't just any old Guru, but you are truly the manifestation of that Nirakar, of that formless one. And you are God yourself in the form of Guru Tegh Bahadur. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Pach remained listening. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji fell at the feet of Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, crying with his tears, washed their feet. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Pach Ji, they embraced they embraced Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. And they said, Kanhaiya, kende hun oh sama aa gaya, kende that time's come now. Kende when that time's come now, that you're going to go now and you're going to serve. What you've got in your heart now, you've got no I left now. Tu karta, tu hua. All you got now is that one within your heart now. Now you're going to go and spread what you are. That's what prachara actually is. Somebody like me is just an educator. We learn from the books and we then just churn it out to you guys. But that was a pracharak who actually reached that status, who actually found God within himself, who became the form of love. And Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji said, now you've found peace, now you go and spread peace. And what did Bhai Kanhaiya Ji say? Maharaji, don't separate me from you now. He goes, I've just about found someone perfect. And now you want me to go away from your eyes? He goes, but I'm so scared of saying these words because it's your bachan. It's your hukm, it's your order. And I know I can't disobey you, so I can't even say no to you, but Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, please, take pity on me, keep me by you. Don't send me. Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji says, can they know Bhai Kanhaiya? Can you know that Gur Mantar that's reciting in your is now resounding through each pore of your body now? They said, now show people how it's actually done. Show people practically what it means to have Gur Mantar inside of you, to have the name of God inside of you. Go and spread it now. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, hesitantly, he had to leave. But what he did, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji, blessing him with this avastha, that shabd that my veer Sukhdeep Singh went through this morning, the last pangti, Jana Nanak Tood Mange Tis Gursikh Ki, Jo Aap Jape Avrahe Naam Japave, he got to that state where Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Paach is saying that now it's your turi. It's your dust off your feet that I want. Go and spread what you've got now. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, they went to a place called Kahwa. They set up a dharamsala there. Water was very scarce there. They struggled to have water in that place. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji helped them set up a place where they've got access to water constantly. They had to walk 10 miles every day to get water. Bhai Kanhaiya Ji filled, they had in stock constantly 200 pitchers filled with water. So whoever needed water, they had water there. Whoever needed shelter, they made rooms eventually because they had so much naam and energy inside of them. So much sangat came and gave to them. They made shelter for 200 people. They had 200 beds there eventually. Because when you've got that naam inside of you, you don't have to go out there begging. You don't have to go out there asking people, help us, do this for us. But when it's there, when you become that form of love, you attract people to you. You don't have to do much. People will just come to you. And then he created this food, langar. He was doing kirtan there every day. Eventually he finds out that Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji Paach has become shaheed. And now their son, Gobind Rai, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, sitting upon the throne. He goes back to do darshan of Guru Gobind Singh Ji. He's got that little doubt in his mind. Is he really the same? Is he actually Guru Tegh Bahadur? He had within his mind first. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paach Ji took all those thoughts away. And upon meeting Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave him one bachan. That one bachan was very straight, and is during those times of the battles, just like my Veer Bhai Harman Singh went through the first battle that Maharaji fought yesterday, which was called the Battle of Pangani. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji, at a tender age of only about 18 years of age when they fought that battle. But now it's come to that point where it's about the 11th or 12th battle that is going on now. Do you know Guru Gobind Singh Ji Paach Ji spent most of their life in battles? From the age of 18 all the way up to 38, for 20 years, constantly Maharaji was in battle. Kehna saukhaya, it's easy to say. Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave him one straight button. They said, during this battle, this is all I want you to do is go and give water to the injured in the battlefield. And this is the Sakhi that we all talk about, that we all know about. But there's one thing that's very, very unique about this. Sometimes we miss out. Guru Gobind Singh Ji says, go and give water in that battle. when Bhai Kanhaiya Ji went, there was given water to everyone. To everyone. The Singhs, they said that Asi Masai were just about getting them wounded, and he's re-energizing even the enemy, and he's even feeding water to the hill chiefs and to the Mughals as well, and he's re-energizing them and getting them ready to fight us again. You know, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was such, some people aren't fond of this story sometimes, but when we do our research properly and we look at the Seva Panthis, there's a group called the Seva Panthis. When we look at the Seva Panthis, they, accordingly to their research, when Guru Gobind Singh Ji in 1699 made it compulsory for every Gursikh to wear a shastra, to wear this kirpan, and Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, ovi chaah de naal, they had that excitement as well. They went and wore a kirpan, they went and wore a sword as well. And some of the Gursikhs said that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, do you know how to use your kirpan? And because Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was so immersed, just completely bhakti, he didn't have that warrior side to him at all. He was just complete bhakti. And so the Gursikhs, they were being sarcastic. Do you know what to do with it? What would you do with that? They said, if somebody came and attacked you, one of the Mughals came and attacked you, what would you do with that sword? He goes, I would tell him that, you know, I don't want you to go to the trouble of drawing out your own sword. You're going to have to go to all that trouble to drawing out your own sword to attack me and kill me. He said, I'll give my sword to them. He says, I'll give my sword to them. He goes, I'd rather die with my Guru's sword. The sword that my Guru's given to me, he goes, I'd rather die with that. He goes, so I'd give him that to kill me. The Gursikh said, Guru Gobind Singh Ji, I think we've got a little problem here. Thoda pangaya. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਮੇਰੀ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਮੁਗਲ ਨੂੰ ਦੇ ਦੂੰਗਾ ਮਾਰਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਬੁਲਾ ਲਓ ਉਹਨੂੰ call him ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਭਾਈ ਕਨ੍ਹਈਆ ਇਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਦੀ ਕਿਰਪਾਨ ਦੇ ਦੂੰਗਾ ਭਾਈ ਕਨ੍ਹਈਆ ਜੀ ਹਾਂਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜੀ you've given me this what better way to die with your sword and why would I want to trouble them in putting up a fight so I'll give him my own sword. Guru Gobind Singh ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ. Says just leave it. You immerse yourself in seva. You've got one job, that's to feed water. And from that moment, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji's job was just to serve. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said to him, you don't need to be Shastrtari to Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. And that's where the Seva Panthis came from Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. And then from that moment, he went out and he's given water to everyone, as everybody knows here already. And the same thing the Gursikhs did again. This is Maharaj kende idda kidda ਆਪਾਂ ਜਿੱਤੂਗੇ. How do you expect us to win in this way? ਅਸੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਫੇਰ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾ ਕੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤਕੜਾ ਕਰੀ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. ਆਪਣੇ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਂਦਾ ਪਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਿਲਾਈ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ. Said Maharaj, he's obviously feeding the Singhs as well, but he's feeding them as well, and he's strengthening them to get back up. Maharaj ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕੋਈ ਨਹੀਂ ਫੇਰ ਸਾਧ call him again. ਭਾਈ ਕਨ੍ਹਈਆ ਜੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਏ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਕਲਗੀਧਰ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ ਕੋਲ ਐਂਡ ਗੁਰੂ ਗੋਬਿੰਦ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਕਹਿਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਭਾਈ ਕਨ੍ਹਈਆ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਇਹ ਸਹੀ ਆ ਸੱਚ ਬੋਲਦੇ ਆ ਤੂੰ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਣਾ ਆ ਯੂ ਫੀਡਿੰਗ ਦ ਐਨਮੀ ਐਜ਼ ਵੈਲ. ਭਾਈ ਕਨ੍ਹਈਆ ਜੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਵਾਟ ਐਨਮੀ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ. ਕਹਿੰਦਾ ਹਾਂ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਜਿਵੇਂ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਖਿਆ ਮੈਂ ਉਵੇਂ ਹੀ ਕੀਤਾ. ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ ਨਾ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਕੱਲਾ ਸਿੰਘਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਣਾ ਆ. ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਚਨ ਮੰਨਿਆ. ਬਚਨ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਮੰਨਣਾ. Listening to the Guru's bachan. Reaching that avastha, he heard that Guru Gobind Singh, he'd never used any of his own cleverness. Chitrai syanapa kite kaam na aiye. That chitrai, that cleverness of my own mind, it will never help us. He completely surrendered to Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Guru Gobind Singh Ji said, feed them water. And that's all he did. He said, I fed them water. He goes, ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਬਚਨ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਕਿ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਾ ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਤਾਂ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਪਿਲਾਈ ਗਿਆ. He goes, ਕਿਹੜਾ ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ? ਕਹਿੰਦੇ what ਦੁਸ਼ਮਣ? What enemy ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ? I don't know any enemy. ਨਾ ਕੋ ਬੈਰੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਿਗਾਨਾ ਸਗਲ ਸੰਗ ਹਮਕੋ ਬਨ ਆਈ. ਨਾ ਕੋ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ, there is no enemy. ਨਾ ਕੋ ਬੈਰੀ. Nahi begana, there is no outside. नहीं begana, sagal sang हमको बना. I get on with everybody. Sab Gobind hai, sab Gobind hai. Gobind bin nahi koi Guru Sahib ji. There is nothing but Akaal Purakh. There is nothing but Vaheguru Ji. Guru Gobind Singh ji कहते आ कन्हैया कहते मेरे गले लग जा. कहते come to me Bhai Kanhaiya, come to my embrace. Guru Gobind Singh ji Pacha ji hugged. Guru Gobind Singh ji Pacha ji hugged Bhai Kanhaiya ji. And Bhai Kanhaiya ji said, कहते Guru Gobind Singh ji मैं तो ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਹੀ ਪਾਣੀ ਪਿਲਾਉਣਾ ਸੀ. I was feeding you. I see nothing but you. And you know, this avastha was that of same avastha, that same state of mind that Bhai Lehna ji reached as well. Bhai Lehna ji, who became Guru Angad Dev ji. When the last test came for Bhai Lehna ji, Guru Nanak Dev ji says, कहते लेने आ, कहते murda kha, कहते eat a dead body. That was his last test. They were in a cremation ground. There was a sheet over the body of somebody, a dead body. He went and he kneeled down towards that dead body. Then he gets up again. Bhai Lehna ji starts circling this dead body. Guru Nanak Dev ji कहते ki hoya? What are you doing? Why haven't you started? He said, I'm just waiting for your hukam. Which way do you want me to start? Guru Nanak Dev ji कहते sir pasyong, from towards the head. When Bhai Lehna ji went towards and he unveiled, he took off that sheet. Bhai Lehna ji startled. He went back. He goes, Aki. Bhai Lehna ji said, what's this? Guru Nanak Dev ji कहते ki Lehna ki hoya? And the Janam Sakhi writes, Bhai Lehna ji कहते Nanak aithe. He said, Nanak's here. Looking at the dead body. He says, Nanak's here. And Guru Nanak Dev ji कहते kithe? Where? Bhai Lehna ji turned around and looked at Guru Nanak Dev ji standing there. He goes, Nanak aithe? He goes, Nanak's there. Looked back, he goes, Nanak aithe? Nanak othe? Nanak kithe? He goes, Nanak's here, Nanak's there. Where is Nanak? Guru Nanak Dev Ji Pacha Ji, that day, the first time, would always call him Lehna, would always call him Purakh, and said, Kende sun, Kende Nanak na gor na madi. Because Guru Nanak is not in no cremation ground. Guru Nanak is not in no tomb. He goes, but where is Guru Nanak? Na Nanak na gor na madi. He goes, Nanak angat ke hiya mein. He goes, that's where Nanak is. He goes, Nanak is in the heart of Angad now. He goes, you have me in your heart, so now wherever you see only but Nanak. He goes, for you, Nanak is everywhere now. And he said, that's why when Bhai Lehna Ji was asked the question by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, I even took a stick and I hit Baba Buddha Ji over the head. I let loose a dog. They said, I done so much, everybody ran away. And he said, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ, when they asked Bhai Lehna, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਲੈਣਿਆ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਨਹੀਂ ਗਿਆ, why haven't you run away as well? Everybody else is run away. I tested everyone and there's nobody left. And Bhai Lehna Ji at that point said, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਮੈਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਿਤੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਜੇ ਲੈਣੇ ਤੋਂ ਹੋਰ ਟਿਕਾਣਾ ਕੋਈ ਹੁੰਦਾ. Because Lehna would only go somewhere else if I had somewhere else to go. If I had another place. Guru Nanak Dev Ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਜੇ ਲੈਣਿਆ ਤੇਰੇ ਕੋਲ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਟਿਕਾਣਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਸੱਚ ਇਹ ਆ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਵੀ ਅੱਜ ਤੱਕ ਮੇਰੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਤੇ ਟਿਕਾਉਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਲੱਭਦਾ ਸੀ. Because I was looking to place myself somewhere as well. Guru Nanak said, today I found a place as well. And that's inside of you. And that is prem. That prem that Bhai Harman Singh spoke about yesterday, apne aap nu pare kar dena. And that's the avastha that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji had reached. Guru Gobind Singh Ji Pacha Ji ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁਣ Bhai Kanhaiya Ji ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕੇਵਲ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਪਾਣੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਿਲਾਓਗੇ, ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹੁਣ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮਲਮ ਪੱਟੀ ਵੀ ਲਾਓਗੇ. Now it's not only water you're going to feed them, but take this bandage and ointment as well and actually heal and help them and patch up their wounds as well. And make sure you bandage their wounds as well. But you know, what I want to finish off with is, sometimes it can be very dangerous. We've got a lot of different type of prachar that goes around today. And when we read the lives of somebody like Baba Nand Singh Ji, when we read the lives of such humble Mahapurkhs, you know, once Baba Nand Singh Ji suddenly stood up Nobody could see anything for miles. Suddenly stood up. And Baba Ji stood there with their hands together. And the Singh said, Kende, Baba Ji, what's happened? Kaun aaya? Who's coming? And Baba Ji starts to cry. Kende, Baba Ji, kaun hai? They couldn't see no one. And some minutes later, Baba Ji couldn't see physically with their eyes, but they sensed that the Savari, somebody is bringing Guru Granth Sahib Ji. They were doing Seva and they had Maharaji on their seats, upon their head. And Baba Nand Singh Ji's crying and they start to untie their dastar. They've got keski on underneath, they leave their keski on, but their main dastar, Baba Nand Singh Ji starts to roll out onto the ground. This is Baba Ji, ki hoya? This is why have you taken off your dastar, Baba Ji? Baba Nand Singh Ji kende, they never called Guru Granth Sahib Ji Guru Granth Sahib Ji. This is mera Guru Nanak aa raha hai. Kende my Guru Nanak is coming and nobody is doing seva of Pani da Shikta. Because nobody's actually sprinkling water in front of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. He goes, so I'm laying down my dastar so my Guru Nanak can walk upon this dastar. That was the satkar. To that level of humility. Baba Nand Singh Ji, toa patke sangat vich bende hunde san. They would dig a hole into the ground in the sangat. Why? Because they said, I don't want the sangat looking at me. They keep thinking I'm a saint. They keep looking towards me. I want them to look at Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I want them to take the upadesh, the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. I don't want them to connect to me. So they would dig a hole into the ground and sit lower than everybody else. That was the humility. But today we see very often people saying this and spreading this type of prachar. It's not wrong technically, but it can be very confusing for us to develop. What do we hear very often nowadays? Just before looking at that, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji was at this level. Ek date, ek pekhari ji, sab tere choj vidana. But before we look at that, something that we come across very often nowadays is that you are God. And we're told this again and again nowadays. We're told that you are God. But before we start to say that to ourselves and think like that, to take a little step back, we need to get over ourselves. Why? Because what path has our Guru given us? How should we be thinking? We should be thinking like this. If we say, what is God like? If we're saying to ourselves, I am God, what is God? God is this pratapale nittasar samale from that same Shabad. He's that one that takes care of everything at all times. Pratapale nittasar samale. Every moment, He's taking care of everything. That's God. God is that one that is constantly taking care of everything. You know, I met somebody a few months ago, and he is not a Sikh, so a non-Sikh. And 3 years ago, he was diagnosed with stomach cancer. And he said to me, and this is somebody that has not got the teachings of Guru Granth Sahib Ji. He said something amazing to me. He said, you know what? He said, God is so compassionate. This is somebody with cancer, by the way. He's saying God is so compassionate. I said, in which way? He said that, you know what? He goes that our bodies are constantly trying to repair itself. He goes, I kept giving it bad food. I kept giving my body, I'd gulp down pints of Coke. He said, I'll eat all sorts of food, I'll be out traveling. And he goes, and then, because I was going against the nature of what my body actually needs to be nourished, he goes, but then my body kept trying to repair itself. He goes, eventually, I ended up with acid. He goes, that was the first sign God saying to me to do something. Change your diet. Fix yourself. He goes, I didn't listen to God. Because God was helping me, it's trying to repair itself. He goes, then I didn't listen. He goes, so I ended up with cancer, with a tumor. He goes, but even a tumor is a blessing. I'll go, how? He said, it's trying to contain the cancer cells from spreading. He goes, it's actually containing it so it doesn't spread anyway. Even that, he goes, God's energy, natural energy is constantly trying to help us and repair us. Pratapale nittasar samale. Ek gun nahi murkh jata re. If we say we are God, we have to be as pratapale as that. We have to be as helping as that. We have to be as compassionate as that. And the only way to do that, our path is not to say, I am God. Our path is to say this. When the Guru said to God, Guru Sahib Ji said to God, they said, how can I come to you? What is that path to you? And God said back to Guru Sahib, ho sabna ki renuka. He said, become the dust of everybody's feet. Ta aao hamare paas. He says, you want to come to me? Don't say I'm God. Say I'm the dust. Say I'm your servant. Guru Sahib Ji says, mithat nevi nanka gun changyaiyan tat. He said, the sweetest thing is if you become humble. And it's not a sign of weakness. And we'll realize then that I'm not serving somebody below me, that I'm just playing into his game. Ek date, ek pekhari ji sab tere choj vadana. I'm actually serving Vaheguru. Jin sevya, tin paya man. That avastha that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji reached, that na ko bari nahi bagana, sagal sang humko ban ai. That we're not looking at, when we serve, we're not serving someone to say that I'm serving someone below me. This is somebody that's homeless. This is somebody that needs this. No. The only thing we're doing is playing a part of that game when we're serving that one. We're serving Vaheguru Ji. Ek date, that one is the giver, ek pekhari ji, but that one is the beggar as well. Actually, the giver and the beggar is that one. And that's the avastha that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji reached. And that's where we want to be. Before we start saying that I am God, first, let's listen to Guru Nanak's language saying, Ete kukar, ho begana, ponka, istantai. Guru Nanak Dev Ji said, amongst all the group of dogs, I'm not just one of the normal dogs, I'm an outcast dog. I'm an outcast dog. I'm the worst dog of all dogs, Guru Nanak is saying. Ete kukar, ho begana, ponka, istantai. Says, I bark for this body. I bark that anger doesn't attack me. I bark that lobh, that greed doesn't attack me. And you know, the day you do know what you actually are, that you are that light, you won't be telling people I'm that light. You'll be saying, Je ho jana, aakha nahi, kehna, kathan na jai. You won't be able to say it, but what you will be able to do is, you'll be able to serve. You'll truly be serving that day. You'll be serving, as a droplet, you'll be serving the ocean. So, itniya ki benti hai Prabhan. Sorry, it wasn't as humorous as my normal talks, but when it comes to Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, obviously it's very heart-touching and a very humble being. And I thought it'd be nice to get to learn about his overall jivan as him growing up and what his nature was like. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji Patsha Ji, they sent Bhai Kanhaiya Ji away back to that place of Kawa. And he then, other saints would come to Bhai Kanhaiya Ji for Brahm Gyan, for realization. And Bhai Kanhaiya Ji in his last moments, there was somebody that used to serve Bhai Kanhaiya Ji called Sant Ram. And Bhai Kanhaiya Ji would listen to Asa Di Varda Kirtan every morning. One morning when Bhai Kanhaiya Ji came out into the Asa Di Varda Kirtan, as he's growing old, he sits listening to the Kirtan up against the wall. And normally during the Kirtan, Bhai Kanhaiya Ji would just put his little finger up and then he would do vichar and he'd start talking about some of the pangtiyan. But this day, he didn't put his hand up. And when his disciples, I say disciples, those that was inspired from Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, came forward to Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, saw that he had breathed his last breath during Asa Di Varda Kirtan. As did great Gursikhs like Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji. Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji, who did Kirtan for 50 years in the presence of Baba Nand Singh Ji and Baba Ishar Singh Ji. And Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji as well never missed Kirtan for 50 years and always did Kirtan off by heart. And Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji as well, when he came out into the Darbar Sahib, his only one wish was, Baba Ishar Singh used to say, ask for something. He said, I just want to be doing Kirtan when I leave my body. And when Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji came out, and just before, as he's about to start Asa Di Varda Kirtan, Bhai Kanhaiya Singh Ji put his head on the Vajja and he breathed his last breath. On the Vajja, he left his shareer. Such deaths for Gursikhs. So इतनी एक बेनती है प्रवान, एक नहीं पर अनेक ही गलतियाँ हो गई हैं, अनजान बच्चा समझ के बख्श देना. Please forgive me for all my mistakes. Please say that blessed Fateh गज वज के प्रेम से आखो वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह.
If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, share and subscribe. Please donate and help spread Guruji's message. Link is in the description below. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.